Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're going to be diving down into the charts to take a look at what has been going on most recently with Vechain. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with all the videos that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet done so, check out our Discord and Patreon services. The links are in the description below. Completely free to come over and join us in the Discord server. Fantastic community talking crypto 24/7, so why not check that out? And if you're looking for a little bit more from the crypto space in terms of what we offer here, from technical analysis, what we do from buy, sell, and staking alerts and all that kind of good stuff, check out our Patreon services as well. Right, with all of that said, done, and out of the way, let's jump on down and take a look at what is going on here with Chainlink. With all that said, done, and out of the way, let's go ahead and check out what is going on here with Vechain. Okay guys, we're going to dive down here and start things off with our hourly charts, right? We're going to be taking a look at this thing and see what's been going on recently with VET and what I think is likely to actually happen next here. So on this hourly chart, I'm just going to quickly zoom out so you can kind of get a bit of an idea that we had a 5 impulsive move to the upside, right? And from here, we actually had this quite significant kind of pullback, and we can articulate this in lots of different ways. We can, of course, remove all of these ABC moves now they've actually played out, and we can actually count this as 5 waves if you chose to do so. Now, personally, I don't think this is a great way to kind of look at it, but it is something that we can count by simply going, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But I don't think it really aligns very well with Elliott theory. So again, I do think it's just a bunch of ABCs. The main takeaway, though, is that we actually reach a double bottom just here. And we obviously have that high point, okay? So regardless of what is going on in the middle, it's kind of irrelevant at this point. We've kind of moved past it. But there are a couple of things that we obviously do want to take note of, right? The first one being this double bottom just down here at about 5.427, okay? So for Vechain, that's a really good area of support just being found just down here. Now, we obviously did surge up, and again, you can measure this in lots of different ways. But for the most part, I think this is an entire wave in itself. And if we actually jump up into our 4-hourly chart, you can kind of see that a lot clearer, right? We have this one wave up, and we're pulling back down. This pull back down is basically our B wave, and then we're looking for this next wave up. Now we can see that the 4-hourly chart is of course oversold in the same way that our hourly chart is. So a big move to the upside is due, specifically here for Vechain, right? And what we want to do is we want to measure this distance, and we're going to take it from our low point up to that high point, and then we're going to go ahead and transpose this over to the current low. Which, it's still possible we do go down a little bit lower, but I think that actually, considering our positioning here, that's a good area to be kind of looking at. And we can also look here that there's a bit of resistance that I've also marked up at 6.462. And this is an area that I think is, it's a little bit short of our 1-to-1 ratio, but could be the turning point, okay? So what I mean by that is we have this A wave that comes up, our B wave that comes down, and our C wave that will actually probably find that resistance, and then from there we'll end up with another ABC corrective move. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen. Of course, it's very possible that the market just continues to grow and actually blasts right past here, maybe goes up to the 1.382, maybe even the 1.618. I'm turning this entire move impulsive, right? Again, it's very, very possible. But for now, the most probable is probably that we're going to come up against that resistance and get rejected, okay? So we're just going to be mindful over that. And again, if we actually take a look at that on our hourly chart, you can see how all of those really, really small movements that are happening on our hourly is basically constituting to going up here. Now, obviously, this is what I think is the most probable. This is what I think is likely to happen over the next couple of days, right? This is the stuff that we should be really looking forward to before, we actually take a look at what's going to happen next, right, in terms of those downward moves there. But ultimately, for Vechain, this is a good kind of move to the upside, and if you're actively trading it, and obviously we're following a lot of the other stuff that was going on over this side, and you'll be familiar with the double bottom, and obviously that would be no buy signal, and then obviously this will be your sell signal if you're a trader, right? So if you're actively trading, there's lots of different things you could be doing. You could have sold here, for example, looking to buy back. Obviously we don't really trade the B waves, but of course, getting a good entry point and a good exit point is absolutely key. So on our hourly chart, that's looking pretty good. Now, the 4-hourly chart obviously being oversold where it is, we are expecting it to blast up into this range here of about 6.4 yeah, 6.462 because that's the resistance, a little bit short of the 1-to-1 ratio, which would be 6.490. That is probably not going to get hit, but it's possible that we just wick into that and still hit the 1-to-1 ratio. But this is also an area of resistance as we had previously. So as we come up into our 8-hourly chart, you can see that we actually need a correction, right? So we are likely to see a push up, and then we're going to see a pullback down, and that pullback should correct our 8-hourly chart from the stochastic RSI perspective. So do expect this to be a reasonable correction here. Afterwards, I would have thought that would be something that we would be looking forward to there. And again, do be mindful that if we actually expand this out, that all of this here could just be a B wave of a much bigger retracement, right? So if we actually mark this up as this could be our A wave down, this could be our B wave up, then our C wave coming down much lower towards these areas down here that I've spoken about before. 4.9, for example, this key area of retracement. So again, just be mindful over those kind of plays as well. And again, we'll go into the larger timeframes in a moment. But there is something here that is potentially on the horizon for Vechain, so we should be very mindful over the potential for further pullback here. And again, so if we're actively trading, we are finding that entry. This effectively would have been a B wave, right, which we would not have actively sold or got into. But this is on a larger time frame, which obviously we could take advantage of on the smaller time frames as an ABC move up, right? So an entry point and the exit being approximately here. And again, your next buy-in point is going to be at the end of that C wave potentially. Okay, but obviously these things are all valid until they are invalid, right? So where are those invalidation points? What do we need to be watching out for? So in order for this larger ABC corrective move not to play out, in order to invalidate 4.9 cent, we'd have to push higher than we were previously, just up here, and that effectively would be 6.944. Okay, so if we were to push up to let's say 6.945, it invalidates this low point, and we wouldn't be able to count this as a valid wave count to 4.9 cent. Okay, so if we go higher here, higher than this point of 4.945, then that's not going to happen. Okay, so that'll be fantastic. Now, likewise, if we are talking about these 2 points, right, we want to go up towards our resistance of 6.462, if I can get my words out, then what would cause that not to happen? Well, that would be going down lower than our A wave down here at 5.427. Okay, so in order to see these things play out, not only do we draw the most probable outcomes here, it's also important to know what would cause that to invalidate, right? So in order for this not to happen, we'd obviously have to pull back all the way down below our pink line down here at 5.427. And likewise, if we want to avoid the 4.996 area for Vechain, then obviously we have to push up higher than our originating position on this wave count. And again, that would be a high of 6.944, so effectively 6.945 to confirm it. Okay, so on our smaller time frames, we are looking for a push up. On the slightly larger time frame, we are looking for a pullback. Okay, so obviously these two things are happening at the same time. One feeds into the other. Okay, so we should be very mindful over that. Okay, right. Next thing that we want to kind of consider here is what's going on with our daily. Well, our daily is about midway through, so again that actually supports the move of the correction that we've been talking about. And again, you can see these waves acting slightly differently here on our daily than we have on our 8-hourly, for example. They're congested a little bit more, but very clear and defined waves, right? Effectively starting our wave down, right? Potentially. So if this is ABC up, we come up into that major kind of resistance line, and then we pull on back down. So again, I'll draw those waves up so you can see them on our daily chart. We are looking at this kind of play. Okay, and obviously inside here we actually have a move up. Okay, up into this range here before this pullback down lower. Again, it's no guarantee of that. If we go down below our pink line, we are of course not going to go up into those highs, but I think it's highly probable that we are going to push up before pulling back down. Okay, so we do need to see correction here on Vechain for our daily chart. That hasn't really changed. And again, we zoom on out of our daily, and what do we have? We have the bigger plays as well, right? Big A wave down, big B wave up. And we're hoping that this is the bottom, but again, until proven otherwise, we are still where we are. We haven't hit invalidation points, which would be actually, up here about 7.00 or 7.021. And we crossed that threshold. I'd be confident in saying it's very unlikely that we're going to come down into this particular area here, which would actually put us at about 3.8 cent. And again, the other C wave low on the weekly time frame, although 3-day probably be better to look at it on a 3-day perspective. It plays out from all-time high down for an A wave, up for a B wave, and down for a C wave. That takes us to about 3.5 cent, and that can only be invalidated. Really effectively can only really be invalidated when we actually move up higher than a B wave. Now, obviously, there are the rules of probability that we have to play into here. We drop down lower than our originating A wave, which would be here. Okay, we have dropped down lower. And that actually gives us confidence. Okay, so you basically have a C wave confirmation. We moved up a little bit higher, so it gives us confidence. It doesn't invalidate it. Ideally, we want to be higher than the B wave to truly invalidate it. But obviously, being down here in this kind of range, it gives us confidence to say that we actually did technically go down lower than our A wave, and therefore that gives us confidence to say that could be the completed C wave. But we can't confirm it until we are up higher than our B wave high, which would be 18.934. So there's a few things we have to kind of really be working with here. What's the probability that we have finished versus what is the most probable outcome and all of that kind of good stuff, right? So that's why it's important that we review all these timelines to know where our wave counts are, what's working with what, and what works against it, right? So now we are actually looking to track up, but we haven't actually gone higher than this A wave just yet. Okay, so 7.021, it crosses our A wave after a pretty definitive low point. I would be very confident to say that yes, that's more than likely going to cross the high of B wave and take us out of here. Again, if we're all the way up here, there's a high probability as well that we could argue that this C wave low is also probably not going to happen, but again, can't be confirmed until we are higher than the B wave itself. But overall, everything's actually looking pretty reasonable here for Vechain, right? If we are looking for accumulation ahead of a big surge to the upside, which is what I do expect there to be, we actually then want to take a look at the bigger picture, right? The weekly chart, and I'll spoken about Bitcoin earlier today and what's going on with that chart, and I do want to kind of just show you what's going on here with with Vechain, right? Because we do have a corrective ABC pattern, lots of overlap. We know it's not impulsive, and therefore that gives us confidence that we are going to be moving on up again. As I said earlier in a few videos ago, maybe a couple of Earth days kind of comparison to to crypto days here. This is not technically an impulsive move up. It hasn't quite reached those thresholds, but we can, of course, count it as 5 waves. So whether or not we call this an ABC up or a 1, 2, 3 up, with a 4th wave coming down and a 5th wave going higher, either way, we are looking for another leg to the upside at the end of this. Now, I like to count it as an impulsive move because we are following Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's on an impulsive move. So when it comes to what coins are actively kind of trading in very, very similar patterns, Vechain is covering, or at least paired with, many of the coins that have the impulsive moves technically, and therefore I think it's going to be included in what would be a 5th wave going higher. But although, in theory, you would still actually count it just as an ABC, but I think it would actually land us in the very same position that a 5th wave would anyway. So whether you count this as 5 waves or ABC up, ABC down, ABC up, it's entirely up to you. I think we're going to end up in the same result because they are so tethered together. Now, obviously here, the 5th wave minimum threshold for a 5th wave is a 1.618. That comes in at 86.86, and obviously you can speculate from there whether you're going to go higher or not. There was some trend-based Fibonacci retracement tools that were showing us $1.20. So again, we have that ability to kind of push a Vechain quite high. And again, market cap isn't really a barrier to price discovery, and I've spoken about that a dozen times already. Market cap would be relatively high for Vechain, it would, but all it does is represents the price multiplied by the circulating supply. Because there is a large circulating supply and the price, let's say, was $1, it would be effectively 86 billion I think it is. A market cap, right? Which people say is far too high. But what we need to understand is market cap isn't value. It's not actual money in a project. It is literally a very basic calculation of the total number of coins in circulation multiplied by the current price, right? And as that price fluctuates, the market cap fluctuates, right? So it's important that we understand what actually drives value, what drives the price, rather than just focusing in on a market cap that actually has no bearing on price whatsoever. So when it comes to price, we need a couple of things. I've spoken about that before as well. So the first one is obviously demand. You need to see a demand for a particular coin or token in order to see it move significantly to the upside. Of course, that can be, hindered by the supply. So if there is a huge circulating supply that's liquid and, is readily available, that price is just not going to move unless there is so much demand that it squeezes the supply, right? And for the case of Vechain, there's a couple of things that I think really do that. One is obviously the level of enterprise adoption that it has, right? And how those enterprises are incentivized to hold VET in order to earn V4 through staking in the Sync2 app. And as a result of that, they take that V4 and they use it for their transactions, basically meaning that all they have to do is hold VET in order to use the blockchain in a really cost-efficient way. And as an enterprise, as a business, that's what you're going to do. You're going to be looking to try to optimize your costs to the best of your ability. So holding Vechain is kind of something that, or VET token, is something you're incentivized to do. And in doing so, you're going to hold millions upon millions of VET in order to earn enough V4 to make your operations cost-effective. What does that mean? Well, it means that a large circulating supply will be removed over time. And I think long term, and we've spoken about this for over a year, really, as time kind of goes by, more and more enterprises get onboarded. And as they get onboarded into the ecosystem, what you're going to find is that the supply goes down and the supply continues to go down. And it continues to go down until, unfortunately, well, say fortunately, there's such a little supply. As that demand really kicks in and FOMO kicks in, this price will just absolutely launch to the upside, right? So it is a gradual process, but the way that Vechain have it structured is right for the enterprises and it's also right for the long-term investor. So we have to be very, very mindful of that. I still think it's going to do incredibly well in 2022. Like it did in 2021, it did incredibly well in 2021. And I still think it's going to do incredibly well in 2022. And then beyond there, we take your profits out and you potentially buy back in during a bear market. And obviously from there, you then ride it up into those next set of levels. So overall, everything's looking really, really good for Vechain, right? Everything from those smaller time frames, such as our hourly, where we're looking at these wave counts saying that we are looking for a good surge to the upside before a potential pullback. I see both of these scenarios playing out, by the way. I see us moving up towards the 6.4 cent range. And then I see us pulling down towards the 4.9 cent range. I see both of those playing out. And as we crawl up into our daily view, we also see these other kind of really bearish outlooks, very possible outcomes, but until proven otherwise. Right now they are valid, but personally, I'm not 100% certain we are going to see them. What I do like to look at, though, is the ability here to accumulate during these kind of down times, and obviously look to where we are going next, which is a fantastic swing to the upside towards that $1 threshold that so many people have been talking about for such a long time. So guys, I'm going to leave the video there. I've kind of covered everything from the smaller timeframes all the way up to the larger timeframes, and also spoke a little bit about what it actually takes to move that needle, to move that market cap to the upside. If you have found this video useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all of this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.